What's good, everybody? Mr. Peters back at it again for our systems of equations review. I'm going to show you guys some very helpful tips and just remind you guys of how to solve and the process for systems of equations. So there's three methods, guys. We have graphing, substitution, and elimination. But today, what we're going to do is I'm going to focus on substitution and elimination, and then we'll come back next week with graphing. All right. So in the first problem, we're going to use substitution because I think it will be easier to rearrange this equation. So when we're talking about substitution, guys, we're going to try to get either x or y by itself. So that's step number one. So the reason I pick substitution in the first equation is y doesn't have a coefficient, a number in front of it. So with that being said, it's easier to move the equation around. And this is what I mean. So if we want to get y by itself, that means we have to go ahead and do something with 5x to move it to the other side. And to move 5x to the other side, we're going to subtract it. And we'll go on the other side and do the same exact thing. And once we do that, we'll have y is equal to negative 5x minus 10. Now, what I'm going to do right now is basically put this in a box, right? And we're going to now highlight y. And with substitution, right, the very first step is we want to make sure that we get one of the variables by itself. And now that we've done that, right, we solved for the variable, we now want to go to the second equation. So let's write the second equation out again, right? And with this second equation now, guys, what we want to do is wherever I see this variable that I solved for y, right, wherever I see y, I'm going to replace it with negative 5x minus 10, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So we have 4x minus 7, and we're now going to substitute in negative 5x minus 10, and this is equal to negative 8. So now, guys, once we substitute, our goal, the objective is we want to figure out what is x. So we set up the equation. Now we want to solve. So to do that, very first thing we have to do is understand that we have to distribute. And if you need help with the distributive property, check our Tuesday video, right? Check our previous video this week. We talk about the distributive property. I'll link that video below. But what we want to do now is we want to go through and now simplify this. So when I multiply negative 7 and negative 5x, we get 35x, right? Plus 70. And this is equal to negative 8. So now you understand why we distributed. You see how the equation changed. And I actually forgot my second arrow to show that we distributed to 10 as well. So we multiply now, right? And now what we want to do is we want to start combining like terms. So when I start combining like terms, I notice that we're going to get, right? We'll add our x's. So we're going to get 39x plus 70 is now equal to negative 8. So after we distribute, guys, what we have to know now is that we have to solve for x. So when we continue solving this equation now, we're going to subtract 70 from both sides, and we'll have 39x is equal to negative 78. And our last step is just to go ahead and now divide. And once we do, we're going to get a final answer of x is equal to negative 2. Now, remember with systems of linear equation, guys, or linear equations, right? Well, what we have to understand is we're solving for not just one variable, but two. So now that I know what x is, I could go back and plug x in either equation number 1 or equation number 2 and solve to figure out what y is. So let's scroll back up some. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick the first equation, right? So we have equation number 1, and we do 5 times negative 2 plus y is equal to negative 10. And what we'll get as an answer, right? We simplify, and we're going to get that y is equal to 0. And if you want to double check this, guys, we could go ahead and plug it in for the second equation, and I'm going to do that as well. So here we have 4 times negative 2, because remember, x is negative 2, so we have to substitute it in, right? Minus 7y, and this is equal to negative 8. And we'll notice that negative 8 minus 7y is equal to negative 8. We add 8 on both sides. Negative 7y is equal to 0. And once we divide by negative 7, 0 divided by negative 7 is 0, right? 7 cannot go into 0 at all. And then we're done with the first problem. And what I want you guys to understand is that this is a ordered pair, right? It's an ordered pair. So when we talk about an ordered pair, right, that means we have parentheses. We're talking about a coordinate on the graph, x, y. So right here, guys, the solution to the system of equation would be negative 2, 0. All right, guys. So they ask you for the solution. It's just an ordered pair, and that will be negative 2, 3. This is when the equation will be a true statement, okay? So for the second problem, what we want to do now is I'm going to focus on the elimination process. And in our second equation, right, let's write it out first before I start explaining, guys. My bad. Get so excited sometimes, man. Just love this math. All right, so that's the first equation, right? So let's get down our second one. And when I look at this, oops, made a mistake. It's not 2y, it's just y. All right, so now when I look at this, we're talking about elimination. And what we're basically doing is we're combining these two equations, right? We're adding them top to bottom just like that. And what we want to do is we want to get rid of one of our variables, either x or y. So what I'm going to try to do is explain two situations. And to cancel it out, guys, they have to have the same number in front of the variable. One has to be opposite, one has to be negative. That's the only way we could get to 0 and cancel it out. So the two options are, we could multiply the second equation, right? I could multiply this second equation by 2, meaning I'll multiply 2 by x, 2 by y, and I'd multiply 2 times 13 to get 26. And what would happen is we could cancel out our y's, right? We could eliminate our y's because it's now 0. But what I'm going to do in this problem is I'm going to do it a different way. I'm going to get rid of x. And what we could do in this situation, right? They both are, it's just x, but both of them are positive. So I'm going to put a negative 1 down at the bottom, and I'm going to rewrite my problem. So now the first equation stays the same, right? And now the second one, the signs change because we multiply by a negative 1. And once we do that, we'll notice that we could cancel out our x's. So this is what we mean when we say eliminate when we're talking about systems of equations. So we eliminated our x, and now we could figure out what y is. And I like adding it up vertically like this, guys, because it's so much more easier to visualize, right? So we have 3y, and that is equal to negative 27. And now that it's a regular equation, right? It's a one-step equation. We just need to divide by 3, and we get the final answer of y is equal to negative 9, right? We get negative 9. And what we have to understand too, guys, remember, systems of equations, we got to go back and go at our x now. We have to figure out what is x now that we know y. And we could pick either equation 1 or equation 2. I'm going to pick equation 2 because it's easier. And remember, we're plugging into the original equation, not the equation that we changed, right? And what I mean is we're not going to multiply it by this equation that I'm highlighting or plug it into this one. No, that's the equation that we created by multiplying by negative 1. We want to go back and multiply by that original equation that's inside the red parentheses. So we have x minus y is equal to positive 13, and they say y is equal to negative 9. So now I have x minus, and just remember, guys, this is a trick right here. We have x minus, and then we're going to put negative 9 in parentheses just so we don't forget, right? And when we're subtracting a negative number, it turns into an addition problem. So now this problem is saying that we have x plus 9 is equal to 13, right? And once we simplify this by subtracting 9 on both sides, our final answer is x is equal to 4. And like before we check this answer, I ask you guys to smash the like button for us if you found this video helpful, and leave a comment down below for us, guys. If there's any questions that you guys have, definitely here to help and support you guys in math. I know it's very tough, especially after the pandemic. All right. So now we have the ordered pair. We have 4, -9, and I'm just gonna plug it into I'm gonna plug it in the first equation. So we have, instead of x, we're going to put 4 plus 2 times -9. And we're saying that our final answer is going to be -14. And when I look at this, we have 4 plus -18 is equal to -14. And once we do the math, guys, we are going to get a final answer of -14 is equal to -14. So we know that this is a true statement. This is a solution to the system of equations, guys, right? This is where those two lines are going to cross on a graph at the point for -9. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. I'm Mr. Peters. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Hit the smash button for us on your way out, and drop any comments for future videos you guys would like to see. Thank you.